everybody. Dan and Josh from the Acoustic Centre. Joshy, this has been a long time coming, this one.
Sure has.
A guitar brand that we absolutely love, and we could talk about till the cows come home. And
Literally.
We thought here in Lowden's 50th year of production, we thought it's about time we sit down with some wonderful Lowden guitars.
Yeah, well, I'm all for it.
They're a mystical, magical guitar, aren't they?
That's for sure.
I remember here when I first started my journey as a musician or guitar player. I remember hearing about Lowdens. They'd be spoken about. Friends and people in the know would say, "Oh, there's this brand that exists,
Exactly,
called Lowden, and they are the greatest guitars on earth."
Well, that's right.
Yeah, and
I think they still hold that kind of mystery.
Oh, they're absolutely stunning.
You know, we need to sort of present them to people. And you ever heard of Lowden? They're like, yes, I've heard the word, but you don't see them around everywhere, and that's because they don't build huge numbers of these guitars, and they're pretty specialised. They're a boutique guitar, that's for sure.
First time I saw one was at the Old Bar in Fitzroy. I was playing a gig at the Old Bar in Fitzroy, not the sort of place you'd picture with Lowden guitars, but a guy played an acoustic set, and he had a Lowden, and I just started working at the shop, and I was like, oh my God, is that a Lowden? Wow. And I got near it, and of course he's talked to me about it for an hour straight, about the magic powers of his Lowden, and every now and again I walk past a wall of them at the shop and just go, wow, there they are. Lowden guitars.
Well, they're still, no matter how many times I play them, it sounds like we're raving because we are. But every time I play one of these guitars, I'm amazed at the sound they create. And the sustain, the clarity, and the fullness without it being sort of bogged down. There's nothing murky going on with these guitars. And very much their own thing.
They are. They're unique. Founded by George Lowden, of course, in Northern Ireland. They've moved around a little bit over the years, but they're now back being built where they first began. They're as good as ever. We thought we'd just run you through some models and what makes a Lowden a Lowden.
Yeah.
So where do you want to start?
Well, I just thought that quickly, going through, if you get onto their website, we went through a lot of their history today. And it's astonishing when you look at any guitar company and how much they go through to keep going.
Exactly. That's what I thought as well.
And it's astonishing that, he's even kept on building guitars, and how difficult it is to build acoustic guitars, make a living out of it, and how hard it was for acoustic guitar builders in the 80s to contend against fluorescent green electric instruments and synths and all that. And it really didn't start turning until the early 90s. So anyone from the 80s was finding it difficult to build a guitar, especially not a huge company. Like even the biggest guys were struggling. So the smaller guys were really struggling. So.
And to survive 50 years is an amazing feat. And George Lowden obviously has a whole lot of get up and go to up and move a company from Ireland to Japan for a few years and start building them there, and then move a whole setup back to Ireland
and then have go into receivership, and he's still got a license in his name, and he's still got a say in what the company does, then eventually getting his company back and building guitars again. And look, they're stunning guitars. That whole story aside, they're unique, they're stunning, and no one builds a Lowden but Lowden. So they're not like any other acoustic guitar.
And they've got some unique features. Run us through some of the unique features that make a Lowden a Lowden.
Well, this is the S shape. So I guess from the get-go, what would you call that? Like a smaller jumbo shape in a way.
Sure.
We'd call it a smaller jumbo. I guess for those familiar with the dreadnought, maybe the depth of a dreadnought, if we want to put it into some context. Their own bridge design, split saddle. Okay. They don't use bridge pins either. So the string feeds from the back of the bridge. It's their own unique bridge design, as you can see there. Then, look, just as an aside, this guitar is a Koa guitar, so Koa and Spruce. This is one of my favourite S's I've ever played in the shop. Just as another aside, this is a clear scratch plate, in case you're wondering if this does have a scratch plate on it. Now, other features. You might not be able to see it from there, and we don't have sort of B-roll films today with close-ups, but The finish on a Lowden is like a buffed satin.
Right.
I guess we could call it. So satin matte kind of finish. So they finish the guitar and then they buff it back. It's got this beautiful smooth feel. So it doesn't make a lot of noise, especially for those people who are recording at home. It's got this silent kind of feel to it. It doesn't get all grippy and strange on your pants or your shirt. But that finish is so thin. It's the thinnest you can get it before you have no finish to give the maximum resonance to a guitar. So you can feel that all over the guitar, all over the neck. Maybe you want to talk about the neck width.
Yeah, nut width, standard Lowden nut width is 45 millimetres, which is around that 1 3/4 mark, maybe just a little bit over. I haven't done my conversions, but it always feels like a flatter radius to me too. I'm not sure if that's true.
Yeah, it does feel like a flatter radius.
Yeah, right. They have a slightly wider string spacing than most, American guitars, if you want to call them that. I never know what came first. Lowdens were built for classical style players in mind, or classical style players became drawn to Lowdens.
Yeah.
And so it's hard to know what the story was there, but they're certainly loved by fingerstyle players.
That's right, and it's very easy to get your fingers in between a slightly wider string spacing, and that's part of why we have a wider neck, wider string spacing, easy to get your fingers in here and up this end for fingerstyle. Split saddle, as I said, for incredible intonation, so they're really in tune, these guitars. And that width mixed with the flatness on the back of the neck, wider necks are not harder to play.
No.
Everyone thinks that it means harder, but it doesn't. It just means more space for your fingers. But the other part of a Lowden that it gives it this incredible stability is the laminated neck that they make.
5-piece.
So it's 5-piece, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And it's a beautiful look too.
Right.
So the curvature of that, the way it goes up the neck, it just looks absolutely stunning.
Yeah, this is ebony, possibly walnut, I can't remember.
Yeah.
But I think that's ebony. So they're actually fusing blocks of timber together, mahogany, ebony, fusing them together and then shaping a neck out of that piece. And that's how you get that look. And it makes for a super strong neck.
Yeah. And on top of that, the unique headstock Lowden have with their beautiful logo up there with the line across the bottom. That's pretty much sums it up. Apart from that, what can you tell me about that?
When you get up close to them, the workmanship, they're all about attention to detail. I mean, the purfling alone is maple, mahogany, sycamore, rosewood, like strips of real timber, all done by hand to make the binding. It's phenomenal the way they treat the inside of their sound hole.
That's another thing. The board, the way that you see it on every guitar, has a sound hole, obviously, but the way they do their sound hole is just. It's just simply beautiful. It's hard to describe what I'm trying to say. So now the other part of a Lowden guitar is the part you can't see, which the inside is a work of art as well. So it's stunning.
Yep, their own bracing pattern.
They tend to go for like what they call dolphin bracing patterns. In other words, it's the curvature of the back of a dolphin. So if you have a look in here, a lot of the braces are curved in an arched way rather than scalloped. It's their own method, and it works because the tone speaks for itself.
Let's have a listen, mate. I kind of think earthy is a word that works for it.
Earthy, punchy. The S in particular, the shorter scale, very easy to play, but very punchy, very strident single notes. And as you can hear there, it's got a little bit of a boxier tone to it, but it's very resonant, so it keeps ringing. It's just got that sustain. I'll just play that again. You always get a lot of overtones and we'll just keep bringing, not to sound Nigel Tufnell about it, but let's move on to the next guitar.
I've got a few for you. We won't take too long here.
Yep.
This is a nice surprise, Joshy. A used Lowden, which we don't get too often. This is one of their O shapes. You can tell us all about the O, but that is 20 years old, and what a lovely thing that is to have in the store.
So amazing how you can see the development. They're always developing what they're doing. But Cedar is something they use a lot. Okay, they're renowned for Cedar and mahogany. Mahogany back inside Cedar tops. This is Cedar and the classic Rosewood. That same finish that they've been doing for years, but you'll notice there it's just the one pinstripe in the back.
Yeah, so a three-piece neck.
So, their production style, the aesthetic looks the same, but how they do it always develops.
Yep. They weren't happy with that. They wanted something that took more work to do.
Yeah, exactly. And classic Lowden too, they've always got quite a thick fretboard. You'll see that. The fretboard's always thick on the top of the neck.
Ebony board, of course.
And the O is the original shape.
Yep, so that's the shape of the very first model that George built.
Which, as you can see, is kind of like a big jumbo, I guess.
Yeah.
This model, to me, is my favourite guitar in the immersive sense, because it's like it's got its own inbuilt reverb. That's how I describe it. It's such a big cavernous sound.
Let's have a go. Fretboard marker in sight, which I love. A plain black board.
Yeah, plain fretboard is a beautiful looking thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, you got that it's this big resonant open space. It's amazing.
Yeah, so that's about 20 years old. You can hear how good they sound once they're played in.
Yep.
That one's currently for sale on our website.
Yeah.
That's it's an O, what is it again?
This one is an O35. So
35.
Yeah, O35 Rosewood.
Spruce,
Cedar Rosewood.
Yeah.
It does have a pickup in that one too.
Beautiful, perfect, ready to rock.
So let show us something pretty special here.
I'll take you to the top of the tree, my friend. What they also refer to as their custom shop is the 50 series.
Yes.
And that's the top of the Lowden tree.
Okay, so
that's an F50.
Straight away, same shape, as you can see.
Bit smaller.
Oh, which is
that is an F.
Oh, this is an F,
yeah,
sorry. Yes.
Yeah.
F. So F is in between S and O.
Gotcha.
Okay, so a little bit bigger. What would you call it? It's not quite as big as a Dreadnought, not as small as an OM. It's got that bigger body depth, of course.
Yeah, it's probably my favourite shape, I reckon.
This has their beautiful beveled armrest as well. We've spoken about arm bevels quite a lot. People don't think it makes much of a difference, but when you sit with a guitar for hours on end, believe me, it makes a big difference.
Yeah, it feels great.
And it feels so comfy to sit with that. It might look like, something small and insignificant, but it makes a huge difference. So I don't know if you can see that. And it's just a beautiful look as well.
Yeah.
That bevel. Now, this guitar is Sitka Redwood. So this is one of our favourite mystical timbers. A Sitka timber, if you don't know, is a reclaimed timber that's been underwater for
hundreds of years.
Maybe hundreds, maybe 50, maybe 70, any amount of time. So you get this beautiful coloration in it. And this one is a Blackwood, but this is African Blackwood. So we get Blackwood here in Australia, but African Blackwood is a very dark and beautiful timber.
Very dense, heavy timber. You can feel the
and you
extra
can feel that
weight
in the weight.
Guitar.
Yeah, slate-like.
This timber combination is said to be George Lowden's favourite. What he thinks works the best on any Lowden, that if you can get any timber combo, the Redwood over African Blackwood is the pick he reckons.
And I love the back of that headstock.
Yeah,
You've got
ebony.
that, the ebony on the back of that. It just looks absolutely beautiful. Sounds like... an absolutely ridiculous sounding guitar.
Yeah.
It's just like the ring this thing has, the sustain, the clarity, the fullness,
character,
the note separation. You know, we sound like, I don't know, wine tasters or something, but I guess we are tasting the tones in a way.
Yes, we are.
So that's just, you know, I mean, it melts your heart just looking at it.
Yeah, this one comes with an abalone rosette as well as some figured timber there. I mean, the pinstripe binding over the back and sides of the body.
Yeah,
phenomenal workmanship.
The other thing we should say is that Lowden comes standard in Ameritage cases, and the Ameritage case is an incredibly well built case. And George does an amazing video on why he chooses Ameritage cases. The way that they seal a guitar in as like a humidity crib, if you want to call it that, for their guitars. And an Ameritage case alone is
$1,000.
Yeah, it's worth the price of admission.
Yeah.
You open an Ameritage case and it sort of becomes a theatrical event.
You want to move in.
Exactly. So yeah, I think it was a good move that they went with those cases. They always had great cases. I think they were using Hiscox before that, but now they're using Ameritage, and so the theatre they've upped the game just a little bit.
They have. Well, there you have it, mate. You know, we're just so proud to be a Lowden dealer, and in their 50th anniversary year, it's super cool to mention them. We always have a great range in stock. They come and go all the time. Check them out on our website. Take us out with a few chords.
Go on and on and on.
Beautiful stuff.
Yeah.